Hello, and welcome to episode 177 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by the elite Matthew Figuera.
Is this the I Overslept episode? Because I mean,
yeah.
This is
I was half. You know what happened? I had to go to bed early because we lost power at like 9 o'clock, which was real fun.
Eskom says lights out.
Yeah, Eskom,
go, okay.
Eskom told me you need sleep, and so they just turned off all my power.
Oh my God.
So like in the middle of the night, obviously the power came back, so I had to go off and like turn lights off and TVs off and shit like that. And at the time, I was like, I'm feeling pretty rested. Maybe I should change my alarm to 7 and go for a run before the podcast. So I did that. Then the alarm went off at 7. I was like, this is fucking crazy. No. So then I turned it off without thinking, I don't have another alarm on for the morning.
Yeah.
So I woke up in a panic and it was like 8:30. I was like, oh no.
Hilarious. That's because that's exactly what happened to me, except I have an alarm set for... How many alarms do you set? Do you have one or multiple?
Only one. I live dangerously.
That is too dangerous. See, I have multiple ones for a reason, because even with multiple alarms, in my half asleep state, sometimes I just snooze them, sometimes I put them off. And that happened this morning. I'm like, oh, my alarm, put it off. I'm like, what? It's 8:30 already? My first alarm goes off at like 8 on a Saturday to get, sort of start getting me awake for the podcast. And then pick up, go to my messages, see you also say, hey, I overslept. Don't worry, me too.
I was half assuming you to say like, oh, I just got back from a run.
Yeah, I went for it. No, we're running tomorrow, not today.
Okay.
Hilarious. But
yeah, I mean, it happens. So do you have multiple alarms like for during the week, obviously?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go to work?
Yeah, I'm terrified of oversleeping and missing work.
See, I guess I don't have that worry because Shani always wakes up earlier than me because she chooses to start work earlier. So like, especially now when she's at home, because she sprained her ankle, so she's been working from home.
Shit, sorry to hear.
She was walking some dogs, her mom's dogs, and they decided to do a little sprinty sprint, and she lost her balance and tore a ligament.
Ow!
So she's been on crutches and a moon boot for like a week and a half, 2 weeks now.
My God. When she's annoyed with you, she can hit you with the moon boot.
Huh?
When she's annoyed with you, she can just hit you with her moon boot.
I mean, she does that anyway. She's got 2 crutches now as well to hit me with,
She'll just poke you.
So yeah, she's been at home. So when I oversleep, she just shouts. She's like, "Get up, get up!" It's my alarm.
Just go,
essentially.
She just start shouting.
Yes. But
Not
she
like
also,
that though.
I mean, during the week, I tend to do very well to snooze my alarm instead of turning it off by accident. But on the weekends, I try not do that because she gets really mad because like the snoozing of the alarm disturbs her and then she wakes up early. So on the weekends, I'm very cognizant of like turn off the alarm and then I still have the accidental go back to sleep in my head.
Shani and Lenska, the same person. See, I can put an alarm off and go back to bed.
Oh, I can snooze an alarm 10 times and still go back to sleep.
Me too.
Like,
no problem. There are times when, we're going to run or get up, and I tease Lenska. So I've set an alarm for 8. She just looks at me like, please don't. Please don't do this. Like, fine, I'll wait.
So, like, if your alarm goes off and Lenska wakes up and you snooze it, and then she's just like, well, now I'm awake. Fuck this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't always happen.
That's a horrible existence, honestly.
Yeah.
That sounds like a curse.
It is a curse, but no, that doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen.
I mean, I have this, I guess it's an amazing ability to like, I can wake up, be on my phone for half an hour and then go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no issues.
We are cut from the same cloth.
It's a Portuguese thing. It has to be.
Really? I mean, I don't know. If you're listening and you're Portuguese, let us know if this is.
Yeah. I want to know if you are able to fall back asleep early. Is it in our genes? Is it part of our DNA? And why is it part of our DNA? What in our history gave us this amazing ability?
Early explorers, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to explore for an hour on the ocean and go back to bed. Wake me up when we see land.
I'm just thinking of that meme now. It's like, my alarm goes off. I sleep. Ronaldo scores a goal. I'm awake.
Shit.
That's
Just
the
go back to
Portuguese
sleep.
mantra. That's
Yeah.
in our DNA.
Yeah.
Like our DNA vibrates like a spidey sense when Ronaldo scores
does.
a goal. That's how it works.
I mean, is he retiring
feel a
anytime soon?
disturbance in the
'Cause good
force.
Lord, I'm tired of these vibrations.
Don't
Too
even
many
need to be
goals.
watching soccer. Like I just
know.
can be walking around the house. I vibrate. I'm like, oh, Portugal's winning.
Yeah. Well, you can only hope. You don't know if that's the case, though.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get vibrations when they concede. So it's a bit of a gander.
Life's hard. Is it?
Yeah.
Hold up. Isn't the World Cup happening this year?
No,
No, wait. What are we? 2022.
Yeah, World Cup
What?
happened 20. Hold on, you might be right.
It's usually an even year. It's either a Euro or a World Cup happening on the even year.
Hold on, 2010, 2014, 2018, 2022. You're right. Yeah.
There's a World
Wow.
Cup happening.
I did not know that was
Surprise.
this. You know why I didn't know it was this year? Is because the Euro was last year.
I know
because it was
it's-
delayed
it's
from
just
2020.
super confusing. Yeah.
Holy shit, yeah. But I think it's only much later this year because it's meant to be held in Qatar.
Yeah. So and this is
so-
also President Ronaldo's last attempt at a title.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no. So it's scheduled to take place between 21st November and 18th December. Yeah, because it's in Qatar. So like they needed to change it
Hold up.
because like
November? What did you say?
21st November.
Oh,
to
geez, like
18th
that is
December.
super late.
Yeah, because well, they couldn't have it in the middle of the year because it'd be fucking scorching hot
Yeah.
there in summer. So
Hectic.
yeah,
Well, there you go. You got some foosball to look forward to at the end
I'm
of the
fucking
year.
excited. Man. Well, we never know. The year's got off to a weird start. We have, I'm pretty sure if you've watched the news, even just briefly, you've seen that Russia decided to invade Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very, very terrifying, and all very strange. I think. I don't think something like this has happened in our lifetime. Something that threatens like world peace in this sort of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying to think that World War II doesn't feel like it was that. It feels like it was that long ago, and it was. I mean, it's almost a century ago, but it's not that long ago. Yeah,
Feels like we haven't learned. It's weird. I've spoken to people. My dad made a good point. He's like, it almost feels like we as a society had like civilized past this sort of thing, and it's
Yeah,
just
and it's
strange
just
that this is
to
probably
have it back,
happening
yeah.
again. So
yeah.
I hope it doesn't escalate further, and I hope everyone in the Ukraine is keeping safe, and as much as you can.
Mm.
It's kind of weird. It's
Yeah.
it made this week feel strange because it was like getting hyped for video games, but also like, oh my god,
There's a
are we
war, yeah.
watching the first salvo in what could be a prolonged like global conflict? So
Yeah.
strange,
It's just
strange times.
It's just a shit time in general because even nobody wins. And
Yeah,
everyone is
no one
always
wins in that
some
scenario.
ramification,
Yeah.
and it's just
People who aren't involved in big decisions just end up getting hurt. So
Yeah.
real bad.
not a good
real
time.
bad.
Not a good time.
No.
Yeah, story
Yeah.
unfolding, I guess.
Yeah, story unfold. Oh well, they've already they've moved the UEFA Champions League. It was meant to be held in St. Petersburg, the final this year. Formula One cancelled their race in Russia in Sochi. One of the Formula One teams actually, Haas, they're a team owned by an American company, but their main sponsor is a Russian company, Uralkali, and the son of the guy who owns that company is one of their drivers. And during their final practice session yesterday, they had to strip all the branding of that company off their car because their car basically looked like a Russian flag beforehand.
Hectic.
So yeah, I'm very curious to see what the fuck happens in that situation because I'm pretty sure a main sponsor with global ties to like the government doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not going to stand for like all of his stuff being taken off the car when he's supplying so much money to the team. So
Yeah.
interesting times.
I wonder in an instance like that, because Formula One's big money. You're not going to live
Yeah.
without a sponsor. I wonder how quick, for example, if you were to step away, how quick a replacement would be found. You would get
If
people
one
who
would
go,
be found,
yeah, you would. I think you would get some people who go, oh, here's like a very rare opportunity to have our company associated with Formula One. Or
Yeah,
there's no one, and then what happens to Haas? Do they just fall away?
just gone.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if I think about it, like Haas has been struggling as a team, and the company that owns it, it's an American CNC company. They've just been bleeding money, putting money into this team, and like I feel like, yeah, if they lose the sponsor, it's done. Like that team's just gonna implode.
Hectic.
So yeah, very hectic. It's hectic now as well because like Chelsea is owned by a Russian guy. Well, half Israeli, half Russian, and there's like UK members of parliament saying that his assets should be seized because he has ties to the Russian government, stuff like that. So it's like, cool. My football team might implode. That's great.
Good Lord.
Real fun.
Well,
but you know what?
Though.
That means nothing compared to the people in poor.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't want to say it's Kiev because Kiev's a different city, but the capital is Kyiv. Kiev.
Yeah.
Kiev.
And I have no idea how to pronounce it.
But yeah, I hope people are
keeping safe.
And also just like, you don't have to be a war expert on Twitter. It's fine. You don't need to know everything about global politics. You can just not say stupid shit.
Yeah. You're
not just saying that because I've seen stupid shit on Twitter.
Not make dumb headlines either. Like News 24.
Wow. Yeah. It wasn't News 24's
I mean, not
Times.
News 24 Times, sorry. Like
wow.
legit.
That was one of the most...
Forget the war happening
in Ukraine.
Tom Cruise is here.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is in South Africa. It's like,
how tone deaf are you? That's
it's almost inconceivable. Like that someone would look at that and not immediately be like, this is gonna be bad. Yeah, I've seen one tweet going around from someone, I have no fucking clue who it is, but they were like, I'm probably going to get cancelled for this, but we should appreciate this amazing time with global conflict because we are getting such amazing like visual scenes. And it's just like, she's talking about like the visual scenes from explosions and rockets. And it's like, are you fucking like...
Yeah,
did you have a stroke before you tweeted this? Like...
Yeah, wow. There's some wild takes, yeah. I don't know. So things like that, I sit back and I just wonder, did you do this intentionally to generate outrage? Or are you legitimately saying,
that's stupid?
Wow, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Just soak it up.
It's like someone looking at like stills from 9/11 being like, wow, this was a tragedy, but also such beauty. Just like, are you fucking stupid?
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyway, video games. Video games are a good distraction, and I hope you can use them to distract yourselves from gestures and everything.
Yeah, the ball
around
at the moment.
So just very quickly, I finished Dark Souls 3 this week. Great game.
Huzzah.
What a fucking great game. I think I only missed 2 optional bosses. There was one in an area that I didn't even touch because apparently the area is hidden behind a hidden wall. Fucking go figure.
What area is that?
In the Corrupted Garden, there's a fake wall that you can hit, and then you end up in an area that is identical to the starting area from the game, but it's shrouded in darkness, and you fight a different version of the first boss.
I think I did do that area. Yeah, I missed the dragon area.
So I did the dragon area, but I didn't beat the final boss there because that boss is some bullshit. Holy crap! It's like
doo-doo water.
Yeah, it's another 2-phase fight, but the first phase isn't hard. The thing is, it's just annoying because you have to keep redoing it, and it's like he's on a big wyvern, and the camera just does not do well with this massive thing flying around.
No.
And the first phase is super slow because like you can only hit him when he's on the ground, and then you have to be super careful because he can like completely annihilate you. So it's like I can wax this first phase, but then I'm dying within a few seconds in the second one, and then I have to redo this first phase all over again. Like I was just like, after a while, I was like, fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm
done
with this. Yeah. But yeah, great game otherwise. That final boss is phenomenal. And I got to dive into all the lore stuff this week and was fascinated to find out that the 3 games don't actually link up as intrinsically as I thought. There's like hints from 1 that feature in 3, but they aren't like a cohesive
like a
story from one to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
It's
actually
almost-
they have like a similar framework. They remind me a lot of a Zelda where it's like there is a linking between these games and the format of the games
See
is
what
the
you
same.
did there.
But the games
yeah.
themselves are completely
it's a
standalone.
thing of almost it's the same. Call it the same world, but either hundreds or thousands of years forward
Apart,
or back,
yeah.
or yeah.
all
It's
to do with the linking of the flame.
mhm. And yeah, so you can say you played the prequel to Elden Ring because spoiler,
Mhm.
we're not
After
playing-
linking the flame, now you got to link the rings,
Link
the rings of your
rings.
elders.
Oh wow, yeah, we've not been playing Elden Ring yet, but we will
Not yet.
by
Yeah.
this time next week have some thoughts on it. I'm convinced.
Hopefully, yes. Yeah.
Can't wait.
But yeah, Dark Souls 3, fucking great game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also, just because I was testing it out, I started a new game on the Steam Deck and immediately went to dexterity build and immediately regretted not doing that for the whole game.
Mm. I don't know
Yeah,
why
real
you
fun.
went the sword and shield. Yawn.
I mean-
Snooze fest.
For the final boss, I basically had to change to a dexterity build. I unequipped my shield, I put really light armor on, and I just had a sword because I was like, my dodges are not like I'm not dodging far enough to avoid this guy's attacks. Like so,
Yeah,
that's how I beat him. It's great.
My thing is it wasn't so much it was almost a thing of I didn't explicitly choose it because I was like, yeah, I want to do a dexterity build. It is a thing of I just keep forgetting to use shields because Bloodborne and Sekiro were, my first games before Dark Souls. So I did try. I was like, oh, shield, cool. Then I just never used it. So eventually I was like, well, I'm wasting my time. Let me just stick to, the Bloodborne approach of you can't block. You just have to roll. So yeah, my full dex build was a good time.
I think it's definitely a better. A lot of people say, "Oh, the shield is a get out of jail free card," and it is in some cases. But boy, there are like 2 or 3 bosses who are completely unforgiving of shield play, and then they force you to like break hours of muscle memory because everything you've been doing up until then that works just does not work against them. And that was mainly like the Abyss Watchers and the final boss for sure, and probably Prince of Lothric as well. Like, but then I play like the dancer and I completely wax her because I don't actually have to dodge.
I hate you.
Did you know you can fight the dancer before the Abyss Watchers?
Yeah, I think the game is structured. It's weird because the
That's
game
crazy
is
to me.
somewhat
Like
the game, quote unquote linear, but it's that thing of almost like Demon Souls. You can choose which area you want to,
but
go
imagine how
tackle first.
underpowered you must be if you fight her that early.
No, you just cry.
Nah, that just sounds like a bad time, like a real bad time.
My
And then
goodness.
if you like playing for the first time and you don't know that she's not meant to be fought there, you just keep going back and you're like, what the fuck is this game? Like,
yeah, it's a good
Great
time
game.
though.
Good time.
Good
yeah,
time.
very good time. I enjoyed thoroughly. It was like a 25-hour thing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So basically a third of what Elden Ring is.
I might.
Which
Well,
is
you
fucking
say
crazy
that,
to
but
me.
is it even a third? I mean, Elden Ring. We've got people who've played
80
like
something
80
hours.
hours. Like, oh, I haven't finished it. What?
Reviews are phenomenal. It's like the highest reviewed from game by a wide margin.
So if you've been sleeping under a rock, Elden Ring has scored many a 10. I think, unless it's changed, it's sitting on a 97 on Metacritic
still
and
97.
OpenCritic. So
It's OpenCritic's highest rated game. It's in Metacritic's top 10. Nothing's ever going to usurp, I think, the 99 for Ocarina of Time, but also gaming journalism was a very different thing back then. So,
still
good time.
good time. But you
I
did,
mean, to get a game that reaches that high, I mean, the only recent examples are like Breath of the Wild and GTA 5. So it's in that pantheon of like
and
unbelievable games,
where did Red Dead Redemption 2 fall?
I think Red Dead Redemption was like a 95 or 96
it's
around
still
there.
up there, but not a 97 territory. But interestingly, you did preface our main discussion for today earlier by saying you tried Dark Souls 3 on your little Steam Deck. Interesting. Have you been playing with little Steam Deck?
Look at this lad.
My God, it's
He's
so
huge.
big. It is
So
too
big. He's taken up the whole like frame of my camera, and the camera is like really struggling to focus because it's reflecting the camera back at it, which is real funny.
Looks
Look
like
at
you
that.
have a Steam
I'm
Deck.
making a mirror.
You've got a
with the
Steam Deck head.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been messing around with the Steam Deck for probably 3 weeks now, so close to a month.
Yeah, you've had it for quite a while.
Yeah, I've had it for quite a long time. It's good. I think by now, by the time you're listening to this, if you've been interested in the Steam Deck, you've probably read some reviews. Maybe you've read my review on GameSpot. Hope you did, because that review was like the fucking longest review I've ever written on that website. It was
in your life, yeah.
Yeah. But there's also some great reviews from, much larger tech sites like Linus Tech Tips, Games Nexus, The Verge has one up. And I was surprised to see such a divisive opinion of it. Mostly, coming down to software. I think I was a bit more forgiving on software just because of the rapidness at which Valve has been updating things. Like the Steam Deck, since I got it, has received a system update maybe every day or every 2 days, fixing loads of things each time. I mean, to the point where Linus complained about a couple of software things that were then patched by Valve last night after the review embargo dropped. So that's the rapidness at which it's happening. And some people see that as maybe it's launching it a bit unfinished, and I don't disagree there. I think a lot of your games will not work on Linux as is right now, and the process for installing Windows is impossible right now because the graphics driver for the AMD chip for Windows doesn't exist yet or isn't released yet. And loading additional launches is a fucking pain in the ass. For me, it was impossible. Last weekend, I spent a good 8-9 hours messing around with terminal and Linux documentation and stuff too. And I had to factory reset the Steam Deck 3 times because I broke things in the process.
Oh my God.
And eventually I got EGS installed, and then it didn't launch. And I was like, I'm going to throw this thing out the window. I gave up.
It's hilarious though, is that now that it's sort of dripping into the wild, right? Because it's not freely available.
It's weird. They're like, we launched, but their launch is basically like, we've emailed the people
order,
who first pre-ordered, to pay for their order. So I don't know if they're going to get it within the next 2 or 3 weeks even. So,
but the point I'm getting at is that there's going to be some person who'll do it and put together the easiest guide. Like, here's a 5-step, 5-minute to do it, you guys.
It's going to happen. Like I even mentioned it in my review. I was just like, I struggled with this, but I'm pretty sure by the time you get your hands on it, there's going to be a foolproof method to do it. But yeah, I think it's just, these are the small things you need to be aware of, because I think the Steam Deck was pitched as like, you can do anything on this thing. And yes, that is totally true, but it is 100% tuned specifically for SteamOS and to feel like a console experience in that regard. And in that regard, I think it's a pretty phenomenal device. Like it linked up with my Steam library flawlessly. Like I logged in, whatever, felt great. The games that are Steam Deck verified, so that's games that Valve has authenticated to work well on Proton, which is like a compatibility layer on Linux to play Windows games. It works well, and they pass like certain quality checks, like the game just launches. It doesn't have like a in-between launcher that you have to interact with to get it running. It picks up the controller well, stuff like that. And then there's some games that are just labeled as playable, so that means that like they don't meet all those quality checks, but they're still playable on Proton. And then there's a bunch that are completely unplayable, so VR games are one of them. A lot of online games straight up don't work because of incompatibility with things like Easy Anti-Cheat and Battle Spy, all the anti-cheat software.
Okay, sure.
So like you can't play PUBG, can't play Fortnite, can't play Rust, can't play.
That is a weird one for me.
Can't play Apex Legends.
Fortnite specifically feels like, oh, even Apex. Wow, okay. That's
well, at least with Apex, that's coming because that uses Epic's easy anti-cheat, so that will get patched. But I know Tim Sweeney said that they are not planning to patch Fortnite to work on the Steam Deck, which to me makes sense. They're like, why are we going to support a device made by our greatest competitor? Like, fuck that. You know what I mean?
I hear that, but it's still, it feels weird.
It's a bit garbage, yeah.
Yeah, it feels weird that you wouldn't support Fortnite, which can be played on a mobile phone.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I played a bunch of games that were just playable, not Steam Deck verified, and they ran fine. Like Cyberpunk ran on this thing. So I guess that's the thing. Like, this thing is powerful. Like, it's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's got an RDNA 2 GPU. So that's the same GPU architecture as the Xbox Series X and PS5. It's got a Ryzen 2 CPU. So not the most recent CPU architecture, but it's still like really, really fast. And it's surprising how well it fucking like deals with modern games. Like Resident Evil Village was running at its original presets, so medium settings or whatever. And that thing was running at 50 to 60 frames per second, like on a handheld. Like that wasn't possible on some consoles last year when the game launched.
Yeah.
It's God of War runs at original settings, so that's the original PS4 settings at a locked 30, like no problem. I played The Witcher 3 yesterday at 60 frames per second. I was playing Cyberpunk 2077 at a locked 30 on this thing. Like, it's ridiculous. And the impressive thing is you can tone down your settings like
accordingly,
to like a mixture of low and medium ones. And because the screen is 7 inches, you know, it's a 1200 by 800 resolution, which is really nice. But because it's 7 inches, you're far more unlikely to notice very minute changes in detail levels as you would on a much bigger display. So you can tone down like settings and games still look really, really good and then run really well, you know, at the same time. Running these like very modern games though, it fucking punishes the battery. Like if you're playing a God of War or Cyberpunk, this thing's not lasting more than 2 hours. Which I mean, you know, the Switch is the same. So
the Switch is more than 2 hours. Like, look, it's not. It's
the
not
Switch
like,
playing
it's
Breath of the Wild gets
whatever.
like 3, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
three, maybe 4, and the average game I'd say maybe like 5-ish, 4, 5-ish.
Yeah,
but the reason I
mean, you can get high. Like I was playing Splunky 2, I was getting about 6 hours.
Yeah,
I played Celeste, I got about 8. So it's really dependent on the game that you play.
The only reason I'm like gasping is purely because the Steam Deck is a big boy. It's super chunky.
It's a chunky lad.
And like understandably it's because there's some big processing power in there. But the back of my mind, I'm like, damn, I hope they stuffed a big battery in there as well. Which you know,
I mean, there is a big battery, but I think when you're pumping it with the sort of demanding games,
exactly, it's the nature of,
it's just. But there's cool things you can do, like you can at a system level on the quick settings, you can limit like the Steam Deck's maximum TDP, so the maximum power it's allowed to draw. You can set its GPU clock to run at a static level. So there are ways you can like really fine tune how you want the battery to perform. If you're into it,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like you've got this console level experience, but also you're still running a PC, and Valve is like not shying away from the fact that like, you can, if you're really keen on getting stuck into this, you can really do anything you want with this thing. And if you don't, then SteamOS is a pretty user-friendly layer that just lets you play the games that you want when you want, type of thing.
Yeah.
I think the hardware is really nice. So like it's big, but it's really ergonomic. I find that it sits in my hand really, really comfortably. Like my fingers rest on the, I guess you could call them shoulder buttons or the indent buttons on the back. Like naturally, the triggers feel very good. The thumbsticks are phenomenal. They're symmetrical, so they're not like the Switch, but I think that's actually better for a device this size. I think having the right thumbstick down on this would actually be worse because the thumbsticks sit exactly where they need to be when I'm trying to grip this thing in a comfortable way.
Yeah.
and the face buttons aren't far from them. So I never feel like I'm reaching for anything on this, and I never feel like I have to adjust my my grip while I'm playing this, which is good because all my focus is on how heavy it is. Like this is something that I played mostly with my arms, on a surface, because when I played it in bed, like above my head, I was like 10 minutes in, I was like, I can't do this. This is way too heavy.
If you drop it, you'll actually die.
Yeah, might actually die. Yeah, so it is a hazard in that way, So yeah, it is very heavy, and there's no getting away from that. I think it weighs like 669 grams, where the Switch weighs only 400. So it's a good like 30% more.
Yeah,
which
OLED,
makes a big difference.
Yeah, the Switch Lite's obviously very light. Switch OLED still very portable, but a bit heavier than you'd expect. So to have it heavier than that, yeah.
No, it's very. The thing is, I find this more comfortable to use than a Switch because like the Switch is so flat.
Exactly.
Like it needs that like vice grip to actually get play on this. This is like
claw grip.
The sculpt at the back. The sculpt at the back is basically like they maybe looked at all the third-party covers that the Switch had and were like, oh, all of those are putting sort of like hand sculpts at the back, and that honestly makes the biggest difference. It just feels comfortable. I would love a Switch with this sort of sculpt, put it that way.
Time to get that third-party cover.
The screen's nice. The bezels are a bit thick, which is a bit disappointing. So you can actually see on the renders on the side, there's those black bars, especially on the sides. They're very thick. So that's disappointing. But the thumbsticks are so nice. Like the thumbsticks here are better than anything I've tried on the PS5, on the Xbox Series X controller, and they just feel very responsive. They full-size thumbsticks as well, so they're not like the Switch's mobile ones, so they're way more accurate and comfortable to use. And they've got these little like capacitive touch pads on top of each of them, so you can do really cool things in the software, like you can enable gyro-assisted aiming, which I quite like in first-person shooters, but you can set it so that the gyro aiming only kicks in when your finger is resting on the right stick, for example. So if I'm pressing buttons and moving the console inadvertently, the console is smart enough to know, okay, you're messing with something. I'm not going to adjust your aim because you're actually not trying to aim currently. You know what I mean? But if my finger's on the right stick, then clearly I'm trying to aim, so it's going to enable gyro-assisted aiming. And those are like little creature comforts that I'm going to miss on like traditional consoles. And, I think Sony and Microsoft can learn a lot from the design of this thing.
Interesting.
So it's great. I think it's a really, really powerful device. I don't think it's something that replaces your desktop gaming PC because it's nowhere near as powerful to do that. But if you've got a lot of Steam games, or you just want to dip your toes into PC gaming but don't want the fuss of having to deal with like building a PC and then like troubleshooting all the fucking issues with that, you can get this. It's like, yes, there are some growing pains because it's Linux and, not all your games are going to work off the bat, but I think I've seen enough to be confident that Valve is going to continue down this path. I don't think this is something they just abandon. So I'm pretty confident that you'll be happy if you have an order with them. Yeah.
I think that for me is also one of the biggest draw cards. Like personally, I wouldn't buy the Steam Deck because like I've got the powerful PC, I've got the Switch for my indie stuff and my Nintendo stuff. But I think if I were to just splurge and treat myself, the fact that I could buy a portable device that just has my entire Steam library from the get-go, like that's really cool. And I was saying to one of my colleagues yesterday, the fact that I could, arguably play on my Steam, play Steam on my PC and then, go out somewhere or climb into bed and pick straight up where I left off. Like that's really, really cool.
I mean, that's the big draw for me. I feel like, yes, the Steam Deck costs as much and in some cases more than a Switch, but I'm going to be using this a lot more than my Switch, I think.
It's like, more versatile in that regard. I mean, even if you want to get into, some nitty-gritty stuff, Steam sales are way better than Nintendo sales. You can pick up some of the best games for like ludicrously cheap, whether it's a year or 5 years later, where
That's the thing.
If I look at the Switch now, how much does Breath of the Wild cost? Game's 5 years old, it's still nearly full price. Like, I love it to pieces, but that's not.
I mean,
really,
I don't see myself using my Switch outside of exclusives now, because like third-party games I'll buy on Steam, because then I can play them on my desktop and on the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
like to me, it's a no-brainer, and they'll run better. Like they straight up will. So like, you know, the convenience factor for the Switch is always there, where I bought Hades on Switch instead of PC because I wanted it there. Now I can buy it on Steam, have it on desktop and there, have it saves, you know, migrate seamlessly, and it will run at like a locked 60 while looking better on the Switch. So like, I mean, on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, you know, I don't think the Steam Deck is coming to eat Nintendo Switch's lunch, and I don't think Nintendo is going to be worried about the Steam Deck, because I think they are ultimately operating on two different SKUs. But as someone who now owns both, I know which one I'm going to play with more.
Yeah, I think there's a specific, you know, if we were to draw a Venn diagram, there's the people in the middle like you who will lean more towards Steam Deck than Switch now, which is fun, you know. But yeah, and I'm quite surprised by how affordable it is. Like, look, I know $529 or $649 isn't, you know, it's more expensive than a PS5 and Xbox Series X, you know, if you're going for the top end one. But the fact that it's basically a portable PC.
I mean, it is.
Which will play, like, it sounds silly, but you can play the entire Xbox library on the Steam Deck.
If you load Windows on this thing when the drivers are available and the performance is okay, like I can't speak to that, then it will run. I mean, you could take this around you, connect it to an external display, and use it as a word processing device, as a laptop. I mean, it's got the same specs as many cheap Ultrabooks, and it costs half as much.
Yeah, which is,
and its closest competitors like the Aya Neo, which have very similar specs or whatever, they cost like $1,300. So like Valve is making, they must be taking a huge fucking hit on the hardware costs of this thing, and hoping that people buy this and just buy more software, because it doesn't make sense for it to be this cheap for what it offers.
It's quite something. And I
will say though, if you are aiming on buying it, I would greatly recommend the highest tier one. I know that you can expand the storage on these things with micro SD cards, but the NVMe SSD is just easier to work with. And also micro SD cards that get up beyond like 512 gigs are fucking expensive. Like, you are spending at that point close to like $100, $150, sometimes $200 on just the micro SD card. So why not just
buy the
buy the bigger? To me, that is the way to go. I still would not touch the $400 one, because I think eMMC internal storage is absolute garbage, and 64 gigs is not even enough to install half of Doom Eternal. Like, you need to consider that the PC games you're downloading from Steam, they're still, you know, developers who put these games on Steam are under the impression that it's going to work on any PC. So you're downloading 4K assets, even though you're not going to use them. PC games are big, like huge, really big. So yeah, I would spend the extra $250 and get the much bigger and much faster memory.
Yeah, if you're going for the $400 one, for example, to play indie games, buy a Switch. That's me. I'm like, well, then that's a Switch Lite territory. Steam Deck's not what you're looking at.
The 529 one with 250 gig SSD, I think that's a good one. I think you just got to be like aware of the fact that you're either going to keep a very small library on there, or you are just going to invest in a micro SD card.
Yeah. See, my thing is it's fine now, but like in a year or two, as games continue to get bigger, like I don't know, install sizes just continue to grow. So
the thing I'd like to see is like developers like putting out, you know, sort of like how Microsoft does smart delivery, where it's like, okay, it identifies you playing on this console, so it's going to download this version of the game and only play this version of the game. You know, I would like there to be a way for me to say, okay, I want to download Doom, but I don't want to download 4K assets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want the...
Oh, yeah. You just want like the you know, quote unquote,
the 1080p assets, you know?
Yeah.
That maybe keeps the the price, the size much lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that. And hopefully maybe that's the thing they can do in the future. And I don't necessarily think that's on Valve to do. That's more a developer thing. Like, Valve can't enforce that sort of functionality. But yeah,
Sure.
we'll see. It's a cool device. It's a real pity that it's not launching in South Africa. I don't think that it ever will, because we never got the Valve Index here. We never got the Steam controller here. So I really don't think it's ever going to come here, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool device. If you are able to get it from overseas and you want it, then yeah.
Make a plan. The only thing I'll say about the Steam Deck, from like my one question mark, is it is a portable, for lack of a better description, it's basically like a laptop in a handheld. I wonder how it ages. I don't know, in a year or 2 or 3 years, what will that battery look like? How will it still perform as, it did out the box?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know, because I've got a Switch now that's about 5 years old, and the fan's a little bit noisy, but still works like a charm. No issue. So, and in my experience, having used many a laptop in my lifetime, those things tend to age. Which is just, it's not trying to knock the Steam Deck, but I do wonder, what does it look like in 3 years?
Yeah.
If you're telling me the battery life now is 2 hours on God of War, like shit. in 3 to 4 years, I don't know, you're going to look at what, like an hour, if that's maybe. We'll see. But I'm glad Valve have done this. I think it's been quite a fruitful thing for them, and I think people will pick up a Steam Deck. And I'm keen to see, like, I can't tell you I'm going to rush out and buy this edition, but maybe if there's a Steam Deck 2 or revision, maybe a Steam Deck Lite, I don't know. Like, I'd be keen to investigate further from my side. So yeah,
yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
No, I get it, and I totally agree with you. I think that's probably what I'd advise people to do as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Steam Deck. It's fun.
Steam Deck fun.
Yeah.
You know what else is fun?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon? No.
Sorry, Forbidden West.
Forbidden West. Why you like this?
The other one. Sorry.
The other one. So yeah, I'm not going to spend too long on it, because I see we spent a good chunk of time on that little Steam Deck.
I want to hear mostly your thoughts, because I've played a little bit more of this, but still like nowhere near enough to really update thoughts from last week.
Yeah,
but you've played a casual 30 hours of this now. I'll let you just sip your water there,
Save my water. Yeah, I've played a lot of Horizon over the last week. 30 hours, which is a long time to put into a game.
It's just 5 hours more than my entire Dark Souls 3 experience.
Playthrough, yeah. But for context, when I pull up the game menu, it says I've only done 30% of the game. But that's because I am really taking my time. I'm poking around in all corners of the map. I'm doing just about every side quest I come across. And the reason for that is because I'm really enjoying the game. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I played it about maybe 2 or 3 years after it originally launched. I platinumed it because I liked it that much.
Same.
And coming to Forbidden West, I will say it's very much the same kind of game. Like, there's no huge evolution. Bar some additional things, like you can now glide from the side of a cliff, which is cool. Very, very Breath of the Wild. But other than some of those things, it's still very much the same game, which is not a bad thing. It's ultimately Aloy doing her thing, hunting down machines, trying to save the world from going extinct at the hand of machines.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, hate to see it. But yeah, if you loved the combat of the first game, for example, it's very much the same affair here, where you've got everything from bows to trip casters to trip wires and all sorts of tools to take down, a variety of machines, where in that regard, there are some old returning favorites. Like, I took down a Thunderjaw felt good.
Oh, hell yeah.
But then there are some new baddies to figure out. And I think why Horizon is so addictive is that it's not a matter of you just rocking up, in a valley and shooting an arrow at a machine, and that's that. Maybe some of the smaller ones, but when it comes to the bigger fare, you need a strategy and you need to know how to take them out, what to aim for, that sort of thing. And there's intent behind what you need to do, which is very cool.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too many new weapons that I've seen. There's only one I mentioned to you, and it wasn't you, it was somebody else, which I don't think was in the first game. It's basically it's almost like a saw blade that you charge up and you throw.
That wasn't in the first game.
That wasn't in the first game. The idea is you're meant to throw it at the machine and it bounces back, and you're meant to try catch it.
That sounds cool, like a frisbee almost.
Yeah, and then
like
on the third throw, it's meant to explode. Except I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. That projectile's way too quick for me to catch. But yeah, there's
sounds like Windjammers, but for like Horizon Zero.
For Horizon Zero
Forbidden West. Yeah. Shit, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying the game. My only real criticisms come down to, weirdly enough, what the first game was criticized for. That is just its platforming is actual garbage. It's platforming and climbing mountains. It's such a weird thing because you can see them adding that paraglider, for example, and it's not called the grapple hook, the pull cast, whatever the hell it's called.
Pull cast. Yeah,
like them adding that is 100% a thing of cool. We need to make platforming and exploration a little bit more seamless. You don't want to put somebody at the top of the mountain and then make them have to climb down again. Let's just let them jump off the side and paraglide off like a Breath of the Wild. But man, as much as I've been loving the minute-to-minute combat and exploration, just running through the world, anytime there's, it comes to jumping from ledge to ledge or figuring out how to do something like that, it's painful. Like the game does not get that right, which is strange because you almost want to be like, hey, Guerrilla, if only there were another studio owned by PlayStation that deals like almost exclusively in exploring, I don't know, ancient tombs and, sites like that,
You just hit them up for a bit of help.
Just like hit up Naughty Dog, be like, how do you guys deal with the climbing ledges and whatnot? Because I think that'd be a big help.
I think the thing that disappoints me most about that is like from the pre-release trailers, it seemed like they had adopted a much more free-form climbing system. And it's super not.
It's
like,
really not.
It's like you can still only climb where we want you to climb.
What confuses me there, so if you look at Breath of the Wild or any modern day Assassin's Creed, like you could literally climb any surface. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can just walk up to a cliffside and Eivor or Link will, through some sorcery, climb up. I mean, in Assassin's Creed, it's done in a way that it looks like, no, they're actually grabbing, holds with their hands and whatever. They're legit scaling this wall. With Horizon, you kind of think that, based like you said, based on the trailers, that's kind of what it's going to be. But it's not. You walk up to a cliffside, you scan, and it's like, oh, there's a very specific path up here. And what blows my mind is sometimes I go up a path and then I inexplicably hit a dead end. I'm like, why? Why is this here?
It's really weird. And just like the actual feeling of climbing strange. Like, I don't know why, but it bugs me that when you want to jump to something that's behind you, you need to press an entirely different button.
Yeah,
and to me, I'm like, but why? Like,
if you want to drop down, also that it's not the same button; it's a third button now. It
just feels clunky. And it feels like we're nitpicking. But when so many other games get this right, it's become second nature for it to feel a certain way and work in a certain way. It just feels old.
The only reason I'm nitpicking it is because that was one of the glaring criticisms of the first game. It's like, no, the game's good, but okay, people are saying it's not Breath of the Wild, but we're not saying that. But it's a thing of, how did you not address this head on? Like, I don't know, the rest of the game in my 30 hours, it's really good. Like, if you loved Horizon, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the platforming's bad, don't play this game. It's not that at all. It's really just it is nitpicking. It's a minor hiccup in what is an otherwise, stellar game experience. It's just weird that is one of the glaring omissions from the first game, and you don't tackle that head on. It's a bit, I don't know.
What do you think about Aloy? I'm struggling to kind of connect with Aloy so far in the sequel because, firstly, she just seems so detached from everyone else in the world. She feels like she's, I don't know, I don't want to say she's better than them, but like feels like their concerns aren't her concerns because she's on a greater mission, quote unquote.
It's interesting because I've also seen that criticism, and I think I'd argue that contextually it makes sense. So spoilers for those of you who haven't played the first game, block your ears. Aloy is the clone of a scientist called Elizabeth Sobek. And you end up seeing more of her in this game through, holograms and videos, whatever. And Elizabeth had that exact personality. Like there's one specific scene that comes to mind where a guy just outright says like, man, like you really don't have any friends. And it's almost like an on the nose thing of maybe it's just a personality thing. Like Elizabeth and Aloy have, they have their mission, and they're very almost like not narrow-minded, but hyper-focused on what they're trying to do, which means no time for anyone else. But that being said, sometimes, like, I completely hear you. Aloy sometimes comes across as very, very distant, very, like, not mute, I guess is maybe the right word.
I almost feel like embarrassed that I'm controlling her at times because I'm like, wow, you're just fucking rude.
But sometimes she genuinely surprises me. Like, I had a moment happen in the game where I laughed out loud because it was a thing of you free some prisoners and then she's like, hey, you got to get out of here. I'm going to go take on this bad guy. And then they're like, what? That's like a death wish. And she, without batting an eyelid, she's like, yeah, for the bad guys. I was like, ha, like that's funny. Like you've got a sense of humor.
She's quirky.
She's quirky. But I hear you. It is a bit weird how she seems distant and very much like, I suppose the way you've said it, better than other people. But I think it's an intentional personality thing. It's
the other thing that bugs me a lot is like she just talks too much.
She talks a lot.
when you're out in the not in conversations with NPCs, I think those are actually really nice. They scripted really well. They animated incredibly well. I feel like in the open world, her talking to herself stuff, which is meant to be like, I guess, feedback to the player, is just way too much. Like,
I think it might be too much in some instances, but other times it's very helpful. Where it's actually amazing the level of detail that Guerrilla have put in, where if you're trying to do a side mission, for example, I'm not going to have a specific one, but I've had moments I'm like, I don't know what I'm meant to do or whatever. And then Aloy like actually says, maybe I should try doing that. And I go, oh, okay. Thanks for that hot tip. Like, I think in that regard, it's nice that some consideration has been put into that.
Have you never found that to be like, for me, I get what you're saying, like, and I agree, but I feel like that dialogue triggers too quickly. So it doesn't give me enough time to try and figure something out before it's just like, listen, you're fucking stupid. Here's the solution.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't say it's been a glaring thing for me. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was at the beginning. I've just forgotten. I've put too many hours into this game. I'm like,
I mean, yeah, if it doesn't bug you, it doesn't bug you. I just felt like I'm walking in an area and I'm like 10 seconds into like, okay, let me look around, and Aloy was like, I should probably go there. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I was getting there. What
I will say is that so fighting that Thunderjaw was part of a side quest, and then there was somebody helping her out, and then I can't remember if it was her or this dude, but they basically said like, oh, we should use the weapons from these downed Ravagers to help us fight this thing. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Where? Like, I don't know what you're referring to. And I've had that sometimes where she'll say something in the heat of it, like, oh, I should do this. I'm like, but how?
But where? How do I do this?
Where's this thing you're referring to? Like, maybe in that instance it triggers, and I'm like, I haven't seen that thing myself, and it's just, programmed in to say it at this point in the fights, whatever. So yeah, I guess I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
I do like Ashley Birch's
Mm.
voiceover work. I think she embodies Aloy really well, and I generally enjoyed Ashley Birch's work. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, I'm still. It's funny because I'm not early days, but I'd say maybe I'm like a third of the way through the game. So I've still got lots to do. But yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying it. Like, there's a reason I've put in so much time into it because I just can't get enough of it. It's just fun to poke around that world. And good lord, is it pretty?
Yeah, it's
Pretty as a
gorgeous.
picture.
Absolutely
It's
gorgeous game.
one of the best. I'd say one of the best, if not the best, looking PS5 game at the moment.
It's weird. There's sometimes where I look at it and I'm like, this almost seems like what Zero Dawn looked like. And then because I've been testing Zero Dawn on the Steam Deck, I've played a little bit. I'm like, oh no, that's just my memory. I think it's my memory melding the art direction of this to be the same, but like Zero Dawn did not have this detail. So yeah, it is. It's definitely not looking like the same game. It is just like pushing the envelope in terms of technical stuff. So yeah, it's really good. I still think the grass looks strange though.
The grass
that you hide in.
Oh, the red
weird.
grass.
Looks like hair. Strange.
I mean, that's the idea, right? That's why Aloy blends in so well. So,
makes the controller vibrate very, very nicely, though. I do like those little touches, and the feeling of the bow feels quite nice with the controller. It's good. There's a lot of nice details there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I doubt I'll have finished it by next episode, but
why not? How dare you?
Next time we talk about it, will probably be like an actual review of. I give this game a thumbs up, or it's probably a thumbs up.
I give this game one hairy knee.
One hairy knee out of 2. It's okay.
A bad game is a waxed hairy knee. No hair.
How have we not introduced this scoring system?
You should. You know what you should do. Listen, this is a free tip for carving a niche out for yourself. You should apply the wax in a number shape on your leg, and when you want to reveal the number, you just pull the strip, and then the hole that it leaves in your hair is the score you've given the game.
I mean, I can review a game like every 3 months then.
Fucking, cool. I tell you, people will tune in for that score reveal.
100%. That's the video. I don't even talk about the game. I just say, yeah, I played Horizon. Here's the reveal. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you, that's a niche. That's when you become a millionaire. Remember, I gave you that idea.
Would you say it's a niche?
Oh, get out of here!
You did it, not me. Cool, but that's Horizon Forbidden West. I've just looked at the time. We need to fly through. Stuff.
Yes. Let us move on to game releases. I do think there are quite a few this week. Let me just pull up the list. I think the big one obviously is Gran Turismo. That's out this week. Can you believe it?
Oh my god.
Yeah, so we are looking at games coming out from February 28th, which is, from February 26th, which is today, all the way up to March. Let me just get the calendar open. March 4th. Oh, wow. There's quite a few. Okay. All of those. Okay. Shadow Warrior 3 coming out PC, PS4, Xbox One. That's a sort of like a Doom-like shooter. Very fast arcade shooter. Conan Chop Chop. It's like a arcade action game.
There's a demo on Switch as well.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
So PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, March 1st. Puzzle Quest 3, PC, iOS, and Android, March 1st. LX2, which I'm shocked that this game has a sequel so quickly.
What?
Basically coming out on all consoles except Switch, March 1st. Far Changing Tides, which is the sequel to Far... what was it called? Far, I think, Beyond Shore or something like that. It's like a really... I would say like a chill survival indie game sort of thing.
Nice.
Pants Quest?
Nice. The quest to find
this
pants.
Is when you look for your pants in the morning? I don't know. Coming to PC March 1st. Little Orpheus coming to PC, PS4, PS5, basically everything March 1st.
My goodness.
Is that the one? Just trying to think if that's the... There was like a horror game that came out this week that was... Okay, no, it's not this. There's like a horror game that got reviews this week that is like Oh, that's called Martha is Dead. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's-
It's like got some like hectic content in it. So yeah. Instruments of Destruction coming to Steam Early Access on PC March 1st. Zombie Rollers with a Z, Pinball Heroes, PC and Switch March 2nd. 35mm, I assume that's how it's said. PS4, Xbox One, and Switch March 2nd. A Musical Story, that's the whole title.
Nice. It's a
Coming to all
musical.
consoles and mobile March 2nd. Babylon's Fall, that game that everyone was stoked about, then it turned out to be a live service game, and then it looked even worse. Coming to PC, PS4, and PS5 March 3rd. Beholder 3 coming to PC March 3rd. And then the two big ones for this week, Gran Turismo
OMG.
7 coming to PS4 and PS5 March 4th. And also Triangle Strategy coming to Switch March 4th. Then we've got two other games here, Survival Quiz City and What Lies in the Multiverse, also coming March 4th.
My God, too many games. Like,
Too many games, and it's not stopping. March is packed.
I mean, I'm fairly certain we'll get review code for Gran Turismo as well. And I'm like, between Horizon, Elden Ring, those two alone.
Gran Turismo, Triangle Strategy.
And Triangle Strategy on Switch. I don't know if we'll get
And
review
then if
code,
you
but holy
blink,
hell.
2 weeks go by and next thing Kirby's here.
I mean, Kirby's the one we're waiting for, right?
Oh, can't wait for Kirby.
My
I
goodness.
genuinely...
And then,
I mean, it's like Kirby and Ghostwire Tokyo on the same day.
I mean, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
I mean, a week before Ghostwire is Tunic as well.
Okay, I need April to come so I can actually catch up on, my backlog.
Need like 2 weeks off, 2 months off just to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
Good Lord.
So yeah, that's all the games.
All
Should
of
we
the
move on to
games.
news for the week?
Yes.
Some things. I don't know what to. I think. Should we do Call of Duty?
Call of Duty
2023. So this is not the Call of Duty that is coming out this year, which is being developed by Infinity Ward. It's meant to be Modern Warfare 2. But a report from Bloomberg indicates that the game set to launch in 2023, which is going to be an Infinity Ward developed Call of Duty, has basically been internally delayed and will be the first. 2023 will be the first year since 2005 where we don't get a mainline Call of Duty release, which is hectic.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, crazy to me. So the report basically says that in 2023, Activision will continue to support Warzone 2, which is scheduled to launch this year as well, and multiplayer content for Modern Warfare 2. It also says that there will be a new free-to-play online title released next year that Treyarch is apparently helping to develop. So not sure how that fits in with a second Warzone.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Look,
I wonder if that is like them going the Halo Infinite route and being here's multiplayer that's free to play. And to me, that would be the smart move. It worked for Halo.
It would be, except Call of Duty just sells well regardless. Like even Vanguard, like despite it being the weakest entry in a long time, I'm sure that still moved millions of units.
Well, Activision did say it was disappointing, which means... but you got to remember they put a lot of money into these games every single
But
year.
You know what? So. The free-to-play routes can definitely work because they'll just make big bucks on microtransactions. So yeah. I think, but on the fact that it's missing a year, like about time. We know Assassin's Creed did it years ago. I think Origins was the first, like the quote unquote reboot of the franchise, and it paid off. Like I think before that, the Assassin's Creed franchise was very tired. People were very much over it, and now with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, like they found their stride again. So yeah, give us a. I don't know. I'm keen to see what a delayed Call of Duty looks like. Like, how do you evolve this game? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. there's a lot of analysts that are saying this is actually bad for the industry because this sort of cadence of Call of Duty and the sort of injection in terms of cash that it gives the industry every year at a specific time is like something that's going to be strange for the markets to react to next year. So I'm curious to see how this shakes out. Yeah.
But I think the fact that you've said they've got a free-to-play something coming out next year, which maybe it won't outright do, it's not going to have the launch shell numbers, but I think in the long run, it's going to make them big bucks. Well, depending. So if it's good, obviously. Yeah. Other than that, shall we bounce to Wide Man Simulator?
Yeah. What did you think of Ryu in this reveal trailer for Street Fighter 6?
Is this an ad? Where is the actual trailer? I did see it here earlier. Let me just refresh this. Street Fighter 6 is coming in. Boy, is Ryu very wide. Here we go.
Yo, man has been hitting them free weights.
Oh, look at those muscles. This man has been clapping. Those toes got 6-packs on them.
I mean, look at just how broad he is. He's like two humans standing next to each other. I mean, even this other cat, I think his name is Luke, like coming up, like isn't even close to being as wide as him.
Hold on, sorry, audio listeners, this is not the best experience for you, but we're gonna pause right here. Where's the shot? Did I miss it? Damn it, I must have missed it. There we go. The money shot. This has become a meme because of this.
yeah, that shot there. There's a lot of people thinking that aside from being wide, Ryu's hung.
He's packing.
He's packing heat in that gi.
But yeah, look, I'm curious to see what it is. Street Fighter 5, I can't say something that Street Fighter as a whole, the franchise itself, I haven't really vibed with. Like, I can't say I look at it and get excited for Street Fighter as I would, for example, a Tekken or Mortal Kombat, purely because those to me seem way more accessible. Like, I can pick it up and have some sort of knowledge on how to do stuff, where Street Fighter has got some strange ass inputs. That's not really strange, if you grew up with them. But yeah, I think the last one I really put time into was Street Fighter 4 on the PS3. Even then, I played. I was like, yeah, it's okay, cool. But yeah, the Street Fighter we know is a pinnacle fighting game. So yeah,
I kind of wish there was a sort of like a decent story mode in there. Like, I'm not good at fighting games, but I buy the Mortal Kombats because the story mode's fun.
Exactly.
And it makes me feel like I'm good at a fighting game. And then I play online, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done with this game. Like, Street Fighter hasn't had that. So at least Street Fighter 5 didn't have that even at launch. And then when they finally did get around to adding it, it was pretty bad. So yeah, I would be super stoked for like a Street Fighter to come back and be like, cool, we've got this in-depth story mode, I would probably get into it then. But I don't think so. I mean, a lot of people will be giving shit for the game's like very different logo. It looks like an esports logo, and a lot of people are under the impression that they're just going hard into esports again, which is one of the biggest criticisms of Street Fighter 5 when it launched. It just felt geared towards competitive esports play and basically just nothing else. Yeah.
I mean,
we knew Capcom was working on this, so it's not a surprise. The fact that there's no information beyond this is kind of strange. So, yeah.
And Street Fighter 5 came out in February 2016, 6 years ago.
Oh, it was a long time ago. Very long time ago.
Yeah. It sold more than 6 million copies, which is
not bad.
Not bad
considering it was exclusive as well.
Oh yeah, it was
PC and PlayStation only. Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder if they're going to do that with this as well.
Oh yeah. Unless Phil Spencer himself tweets out Street Fighter 6 day and date Game Pass. Shit, can you imagine that?
Who knows?
Speaking of PlayStation though, Elden Ring. No, I'm kidding. PlayStation VR 2. We've got a little looks here.
I was skeptical as to whether this was launching this year, but the fact that they are putting out final renders of this thing,
I think it's coming out this year.
I'm almost certain it's coming out into this year. Yeah, and will be just as rare as the actual console itself.
You reckon? See, it's interesting. Yeah. So I'm playing catch up on podcasts now. I'm listening to the Kind of Funny's 2022 predictions, and it's funny because we're nearly in March, and they did this at the beginning of January. So I'm already seeing some predictions either flop or sort of panning out. But Blessing said he doesn't think VR2 comes out this year. For that reason, though, is that PlayStation turns around and says, like, shit, there's not really enough of our consoles out in the wild.
It's a fair
point. We don't want to
Yeah.
add to, the silicon shortage by putting out another device that, requires chips and whatever. We leave it till next year. But you're right. There are some, I mean, it's fair, right? There's early renders. Like, maybe we do set in
we've got to
November.
remember as well that this headset requires a PS5. So, like, it's not going to contribute to the silicon shortage because there's not the same sort of silicon in here that is required for, consoles and high performing computing. It is essentially a electronics device that is powering a display. It definitely has microprocessors and stuff in there, but it's not the same.
Not the same thing. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I can get the strategy of like, there's not enough PS5s out here to make this a viable launch at this time.
Like maybe it is, almost ready, but I don't know. Do they launch it this year?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing becomes like, oh, it is ready, but we are going to push this back 6 to 8 months, so that when we release it, the market is a bit more open to the idea. Because people are not going to drop, this is probably going to be an expensive device, but I would assume somewhere around like $300. They're not going to drop $300 on a headset when they can't even spend the $500 on a console.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, the design of this thing is quite reminiscent of the first PSVR, which I particularly like a lot because I think PSVR, the first iteration, was one of the most comfortable VR headsets I've ever used. It uses this sort of like headband mentality. So the pressure of the headset is on the front of your head and balanced on the back, as opposed to being smushed on your face like so many other ones. And I think it's incredibly comfortable and very smart. So the fact that they haven't really changed that is nice, I think. I think it looks a bit slimmer and a bit more refined. The fact that there's only one cable going to the console now is a huge plus.
That is the big plus for me. The only reason I never got PSVR was because I saw people like you and Jeff have PSVR and the setup required.
It was a fucking pain.
I was like,
it was an absolute pain.
I will like miss me with this. I don't need this. I'll wait. It's fine. I'll wait a generation.
The fact that you had this like thick ass cable that terminated into two ends that had to go into a box, and then the box had to be powered, and then that box had to be routed to the PlayStation, and then on top of it, like the very first box didn't have HDR pass through, so like whenever I played VR, I had to rewire everything. Otherwise, I'd never get HD. It was a complete nightmare.
So look,
this is just like one cable, USB-C, boom, done.
Yeah.
Like,
so look, having a cable, when there are things like Oculus Quest that have no cables, it's like, but to go from 400,000 million cables to one, like, cool.
I mean, to be fair, the Quest is only wireless. Okay, that's not exactly true, but when it launched, the Quest was only wireless when you were playing native games. If you wanted to play games on your PC, you had to connect it again with just a USB-C cable. Now they've implemented wireless streaming and whatever, but I still think a single cable I can deal with. The controllers are interesting because they remind me a lot of the Oculus Quest controllers, but the ring, that sort of like motion sensing ring, is pushed further back to like your wrist as opposed to being ahead of your hand. So, which is nice because I don't think you're going to swing somewhere and hit just the controller. Like if you swing somewhere, the thing that's going to hit something first is the front of your hand as opposed to the controller. So that's quite cool.
Look at that controller. Now look at this. I do love this comparison. This looks like the old Sony Ericsson logo. I'm like, yeah, it actually really does.
That is such a clever deep cut. Oh my God. Beautiful. I love it. If that was purposeful, I fucking love it.
I don't know if it is, but I was like, yeah, it kind of is.
Someone just needs to shade like the negative space in this render in green to like really get it. Yeah. I guess also if you haven't been keeping up with it, the PSVR has inside out tracking. So there's no need for a PlayStation camera, which again, big benefit. It means that the headset will be able to detect the controllers all around you and the tracking will move with your rotation. So like if I turn parallel to my TV, the camera won't freak out and not know where the fuck I am. it just kind of works. So that's
works.
awesome, because that also means it's more versatile. You don't have to play in front of your TV or wherever your camera's set up. You can, move to where you have more space and just have the cable connected to the PlayStation and not care. So yeah, it's cool. I'm very excited for PSVR. I very keen to see more of it and see more
one
games.
cable
So, yeah.
can't be in. And then some last pieces of news. DICE Awards happened this year, so I'm just going to fly through some of the big winners. Game of the year, It Takes Two, which is very cool. Why are you pulling that face?
Okay.
What do you think gets Game of the Year? I mean, It Takes Two.
Out of that list,
What do you want? Returnal? You want Ratchet and Clank?
I don't know. I don't know. It's fun.
I don't know.
Let's continue.
Talk to me when you finished It Takes Two.
Yeah.
Outstanding achievement in animation, Ratchet and Clank. Outstanding achievement in art direction, Resident Evil Village. Oh wait, sorry, Ratchet and Clank
as well.
Outstanding achievement in character, Resident Evil Village with Lady Dimitrescu. Outstanding achievements in original music, Returnal.
Oh yeah, I'm very happy about that. That's
also, outstanding achievements in audio design, Returnal. That game made you feel disgusting when you played it.
Oh yeah, the audio design there is phenomenal.
Outstanding achievements in story, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sure your eyebrows are going to disappear into your hair for that one as well.
Fucking ridiculous.
Outstanding technical achievement, Ratchet and Clank. This is where my eyebrows disappear into my hair. Action game of the year, Halo Infinite, beating out Deathloop, Metroid Dread, Returnal, and The Ascent. I'm like, I don't know.
I think we spoke about it yesterday. I think the only game that would, in my view, take this over Halo Infinite is Returnal to me, because otherwise, yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, but
in terms of action,
Metroid Dread?
Yeah.
Metroid Dread. Come on.
Yeah,
Adventure.
Listen, I liked Halo Infinite a lot, so maybe I'm biased.
Such a fanboy. Just stay in your lane. Adventure game of the year, Guardians of the Galaxy.
How does Guardians of the Galaxy win this category and not get nominated for game of the year? But then It Takes Two is here and loses?
I don't know. A lot of these awards, I also thought that were a thing of, it's that bias of, oh shame, it didn't win in this main award. Let's recognize it in this other side award.
This award is super confusing to me. Family Game of the Year goes to Ratchet and Clank.
Remember playing that with your kids, multiplayer?
Also, like Family Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards was It Takes Two, and here it's not even nominated. I don't understand what this category is. It makes no sense to me.
We don't know. Fighting Game of the Year, Guilty Gear Strive. Racing Game of the Year, Forza Horizon 5. Role-playing Game of the Year, Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. This one made me laugh. Sports Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Not FIFA 22 or NBA 2K22 or Riders Republic or The Climb 2, which I have no idea what it is. But Mario Golf is your game of the year,
which is not a great game either. Like it's fine.
It's not a bad game. It's not an exceptional
it's just
game.
A big ass fine on there. Like
strategy game of the year, Age of Empires. Immersive reality technical achievement, Lone Echo 2, no idea what that is. Yeah, these I don't know. Outstanding achievement for independent game, Unpacking, that's cool.
Interesting. That's a cool one.
A mobile game of the year, Pokemon Unite. Online game of the year, Halo Infinite. This is where I'm like, yeah, cool. Give it to Halo, that's cool. Outstanding achievements in game design, It Takes Two.
See, that I think it can win there. Yeah. I'm kind of there. If I look at the nominees there, it would probably be between the games I've played, because I have not played Inscription. But It Takes Two and Deathloop. Like, Deathloop is a well-designed game. It is not a great story, and it kind of falls apart a bit in certain places, but the design of it is really interesting. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, then I guess the next award
game direction,
best game direction. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
So you go.
Anyway,
the DICE Awards. And then last bits of news. Elden Ring will run on the Steam Deck, which is pretty cool. I know you've got your eyebrows spraying into your hair again. But semi-related, Bandai Namco apologizes for Elden Ring performance issues, because if you're playing this on PC,
it's a bad time on PC.
It's a bad time. Ooh. So the fact that it's running poorly on PC leads me to wonder, will it actually run on the Steam Deck? Like,
I played Dark Souls 3 on the Steam Deck, and that couldn't get to a locked 60. So yeah, good luck.
There you go.
Listen, I think I think if you lower settings and whatever, you could maybe achieve like a locked 30 on there. But yeah, I mean, this PC port sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Even from in terms of From Software standards, who are generally not great at their PC ports. So yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also got like issues on Xbox One and or Xbox Series X and PS5 in terms of frame rate. On PS5, it's got quite a big issue with rest mode.
Yeah. Don't
Bandai
put your
Namco
PC to
said
rest
do
mode.
not put it in rest mode because you can corrupt your save.
God, don't do that.
Hooray. PS5's rest mode has been an absolute shit show.
Actual
Like,
doo-doo water.
The number of games it's actually like they've had to come out and be like, hey, this thing's fucked. Like,
Yeah. So on that note, that's gaming news. Elden Ring, good game. Elden Ring also bad game. Question mark.
Elden Ring your save game.
Wow, Elden Red Ring of Death. Xbox.
Oh, like that.
There you
one.
go. Cool. Shall we fly through some questions? We have a
If
few.
you want to send us questions, you can email us, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all of our social media at Checkpoint Chat, on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok.
All
Not
of
on
the
OnlyFans
places.
yet. It's okay.
Not yet.
Soon.
TBC.
We'll get those hairy knee numbers. It's okay.
My goodness. We have a question on Instagram from a good pal Miklas, who says, who asks, not says, your top 3 games of all time. If you could force everyone to experience one of them, which would it be? See, this is a difficult one because you asked me today, and my knee-jerk reaction will have, 3 games. Ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind.
I know like my top 2 are generally not, they don't change much. So it's like Journey is there and Portal 2 is there. I think those are 2 exceptional games that I think also are both accessible enough or approachable enough that many people can play them. I don't think they are 2 games that are reserved for people who have the gamerbrain.tm, so Journey is a game I think a lot of people can experience and should experience because it's also like, it's short, it's very easy to kind of like get going with it, and it's kind of incredible. As for a third game on that list, that could change on the day. That could be like
anything.
Halo 1, it could be like Crash Bandicoot 3 for me. Games that were like formative to how I experience games now would likely make that list.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think my knee-jerk reaction to my top 2, I'd say, big shocker, Celeste is up there. Actually, I know my top 3. Celeste, God of War is also up there, just for beat for beat. It's, I think, one of the
obviously the most recent God of War, correct?
The recent God of War. It's just one of those games where it feels like it just ticks all the boxes. Like it's got that high production value. It's got a great story. It's got great gameplay.
Great combat.
Great combat. It looks really good. Like the fact that game is a PS4 title still like blows my mind. My little base PS4 ran that without so much as a hitch.
It just wanted to launch into orbit.
Just wanted to go into space. So Celeste, God of War, and any of the Ori games are definitely up there, I'd say. I don't know, like it almost feels weird to say play Will of the Wisps without playing Blind Forest. Like I feel it's helpful to play. Blind Forest is still a really good game, but Will of the Wisps just
Will of the Wisps is better,
bit.
But man, you can only appreciate it fully, I think, playing the first one.
Let's go with Will of the Wisp. So there's my 3: Celeste, God of War, and Blind Forest for the purpose of this question. But now, which game would you insist somebody plays? Just one game.
Definitely Journey.
Journey,
100% Journey. That's just, like I said, it's easy for people to play as well. There's very little barrier to entry there, and it's like you can complete it in a half of an afternoon. And put it this way, I don't think everyone will connect with it in the same way that like I have and a lot of other people have. But I think that even if you don't connect with it in that deep way, you will never leave playing Journey unsatisfied.
Exactly. You get something out of it.
It's like gorgeous, and it's emotional and evocative, and even if you don't like really get into its story, there's still something there for you.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I think it's so. Like, as much as I love Celeste, I know people bounce off it because it is a challenging game.
It does have those settings to let you make
it does have settings,
trivial almost. So,
and the same goes for Ori, unfortunately, where if you're not at all a platforming kind of person, I know some people have bounced off that game purely because they find it too challenging, which is fair.
Yeah.
Like if
and
it's,
that doesn't really have settings
there's
to
no-
alleviate that. Yeah.
the only thing you can do is like put on an easy mode, but then enemies
Even then,
have
it's not
to
that easy.
hit you more.
Yeah.
It doesn't fix the platforming.
Yeah.
So I think maybe just for a good cinematic experience, God of War, you can put it down to easy.
Mhm.
It'll still be challenging, but I feel that people will, you find people could probably find their way through that quote unquote easier than they would the other two.
I also feel like if
So
you're not into playing it, you can find someone
Just
who is
watch-
playing it and just
just
enjoy
watch
the
videos.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is
So-
very cinematic in that way. So, yeah.
Exactly. So there you go. That was a great question.
What's your favorite game, Miklos? I want to know.
Yeah, tell us what are your top 3? We have a question on Twitter from Jared Brapra who says, "Hey guys, when you gaze upon your crystal ball of wild things that could possibly or impossibly happen in gaming in 2022, what wild news headlines would you see?" And he says, "I'm asking this question realizing that 2 months of 22 have already gone past, but
But
still
also,
early
and
days."
they've also had like
Some
two
of the-
unreal stories. I mean, the fact that Microsoft bought Activision or is planning to is like that would be a sort of like pie in the sky type of this
Yeah.
will never happen
and it
type
did.
of headline. So honestly, I don't know. I think maybe, although I think it's, again, I say less likely to happen, but who the fuck knows? Ubisoft the other day said they would entertain offers of acquisition, so I could easily see a Microsoft picking that up.
But that's your. Sorry, my camera's gone funny.
Yeah,
imagine.
I don't see Sony doing that. I could easily see with the pantheon of games that Ubisoft has, like that's another big one to just pick up and plop onto like Game Pass
Yeah.
type of thing.
I think-
Whether that is even possible, who knows? I don't know, but
I think,
Yeah.
I guess, like, not to shoehorn us into the fact that, our predictions are game acquisitions, but it is exciting. Exciting and quote unquote questionable, depending on if you're worried about monopolies and whatnot. But I think for both sides of that console spectrum, I think it would be very interesting to see. I mean, there were rumors about this as well, to see Xbox buying Sega to sort of get more of a foothold in the East. And to see Sony making their own acquisition of someone like a Capcom, maybe.
or a Square.
Or
yeah.
a Square, yeah. Either. So, yeah, Sony.
Which again, I
grabbing
don't
a-
think will happen, but
No,
yeah.
I don't think it'll happen, but, we didn't think.
Especially with
Activision-
Square. Square's like a company that is far more than just video games. So it's like a very different sort of beast
Yeah.
to pick up. But outside of acquisitions, I think some cool game announcements. I mean, there's already been one. There was a rumor this week that Microsoft is in very early talks with Obsidian, which is a studio they now own, to work on a sequel to Fallout New Vegas, which is like, fuck yeah, I'm in for that. I thought Fallout New Vegas was phenomenal. So if we're going to be reviving IP in that sort of manner, I'm fucking all in on that. So that'd be cool. The one thing I would love to see, and I genuinely think it will happen, the announcement of whatever new IP Naughty Dog is working on. And I'm pretty
That'd be
sure we're going to,
exciting.
before the end of
Just
the year,
a-
we're going to
just
hear
a
about
tease
that.
or something.
Like, almost certain. Yeah.
No, okay, bear with me. This is a prediction that's very, very obscure and out there. But this year, we actually get a Silksong release date. Okay.
Oh, dear God. Never.
Ne-
Never.
never going to happen.
Never. Did you see it was Hollow Knight's 5th anniversary like this week?
Mhm.
Very sad.
Effing chat.
I'm very sad. I just want to play it. I just
wanna
want to
cry.
play Silk Song like so
Yeah.
badly. Yeah, it would be great. I've given up thinking that it's going to be the next direct because I really thought this past direct was going to be it, but I would
Well-
too. I too would like that. I too would
Well,
like
kind,
that.
kind of
yeah.
funny. I think Andy said he predicts that Silksong will appear this year at a direct and it'll be a day and date like it's out now. Imagine that.
Yeah, I
That'd
do
be
agree. I
very
think
cool.
when it does reemerge, it's going to be like it's out now or
now.
out in a week or whatever. Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't think you stay away for this long to then reveal it and be like, oh, it's out in a year. Like,
Yeah.
just don't see that happening. Yeah.
Cool. And then thank you for the question, first of all, Jared. I'm just looking at the time. I've got to fly here. I have a wife doing Portuguese lessons in 8 minutes. So
How dare she?
how dare she? So we've got some questions from Mix, who says, Alessandro, how does a person/gaming mag website get a quote rating on the cover, front or back of a game? I don't know.
I have no idea.
But
I
I
have no
don't know
idea.
what the process is, but there's a fun story attached to that where years ago I used to be a merchandiser for Xbox, weirdly enough. Come full circle. And one week where Gears of War 2 was launching, and my team and I had to go to BT Games and every other store that had copies of the game and slap on a Lazy Gamer sticker saying, Lazy Gamer 9 out of 10, whatever the score was, recommended.
Mm.
And at the time I was like, what Lazy Gamer? Is that a local website? And that is legit how I found out about Lazy Gamer, and the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history.
Bam.
Yeah. I think when it comes to like local websites getting on top, that's more distributors locally. They can just, they have the agency to put a sticker on a game.
Exactly.
Like plastic, but to get it like actually printed on the box, that's more a
that's
globally
like a
decided thing.
Yeah, that's like a Game of the Year edition thing. But I think locally it's a thing of, so for example, PlayStation games, sometimes we get code early. So I know a good example is Glitched had a Horizon Forbidden West review out, to hit embargo. So if our local distributors really wanted to, they could have gone about getting a pull quote or a score printed for, launch week that Friday. And then
they usually do that now in terms of emails. When they send out press release emails, they have like quotes from reviews, and stuff like that. And we get sometimes local websites get put into international accolades trailers, and that's usually when that happens. PR reaches out to the website in question and says, "Hey, we want to include this quote as part of our accolades trailer. Do you give us permission to do it?" And you have to agree and all of that stuff. Sometimes they are regionalized accolades trailers, which are really cool. And that's sort of the same process. But yeah, as far as actually getting printed on the box, I have no idea. It's never happened to something I've worked on.
No.
I've only ever been on one accolades trailer as well. So
bam, put that on your CV. And then last question. In the current fuel-filled world we live in, do you recommend a person who doesn't have a car buys a car? Or do they use public transportation like taxis, private taxis, maybe bicycles, walking for shorter distances of 6 kilometers or similar?
I think it depends on where you're living.
It depends where you live in South Africa. Look, and also depends on your situation where, like, if Lensk and I really wanted to, one of us could sell our car.
Could you share a car?
Yeah, like there would be more admin of, okay, we've got one car, like I'd have to drop off at work and then go to work. Like there would be some admin, but
it's more planning,
But realistically, like we could live with one car. But the fact that we both have our own car is very handy. In South Africa, though, when it comes to public transportation, like I think it works if you're catching taxis. Like I know you caught the car train to work. At a stage.
I mean, we have some structures in place, but it's still not all encompassing.
No, but it's if you go anywhere in Europe, for example, like in London, UK, you don't need a car. It's like in fact, you can't drive around in London with a car. It's like a dumb
it's a
idea.
Complete fucking nightmare.
You can just walk or tube everywhere, and even if you live on the outskirts, you can just train in. I mean, that's what we did over December. We were like an hour out of London, but so easy to just get on a train, get in,
and it's affordable as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I mean, in the States, whenever we've been to E3, that city very much reminds me of Johannesburg because it's very sprawled out and flat.
Yeah.
So you do have a metro there, but it is kind of garbage. You can Uber everywhere, but you can also Uber everywhere here locally. But, price-wise, that increases and increases and increases. So, listen, at the end of the day, cars are liabilities. They're not investments. They are, you buy them because you need the ability to get places when you need to. I think buying expensive cars is a complete fucking waste of money unless you just have spare cash.
Yeah.
So,
I will say the middle ground is, in recent years, more people working from home. Like if you're working from home, the only reason you need a car then is to get to, maybe like social commitments. So maybe you can just Uber around in those instances and not have to pay the 500 to 1,000 rand insurance and 1,000 rand petrol, whatever. Like maybe an Uber fund just covers less than that. So
I know people who sold their cars and just use Uber. That's cool.
Yep.
I don't think I could do that because then it, firstly, to Uber to work every day would be way more expensive. And also just like not having the ability to be like, I'm going downstairs and getting in my car and going where I need to go. Now I need to wait on someone. You know what I mean? So yeah.
It's a convenience thing as well. So
it is a big convenience thing. So yeah. So would you buy a car in this day and age? Yes.
Yes.
I would still buy it. If I had no car now, I would still be
South
planning
Africa,
on
I think
buying
I would still buy a car. Overseas, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's all the time we have for questions. We're making by the skin of our teeth here.
Yeah. If you want to send us questions, you can also email us, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also message us on all our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat. But yeah, that's been episode 177. As always, thank you so much for listening. And we will definitely be back next week for episode 178. Look forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Praise the sun.
Praise the
ring.
Elders of the rings.
My goodness.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Bye.